So we're going to have a little fireside chat with Denis Gaudreault, who is the Intel Canada country manager. In addition to that, he is recently also responsible for Intel in Latin America. So we're fortunate to have him here. So he'll be able to answer a lot of questions. Denis have been with Intel for 20 years now, almost. And prior to taking over responsibility for Canada about 2.5 years ago, he ran government for Intel on a worldwide basis. So he has a wealth of experience. So please welcome Denis to the stage.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Lars. Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
So we'll get in the comfy chairs. And then we got a video. You want to run the video at this point?
Yeah.
All right.
It's more abundant than sand, more powerful than any source of energy, invisible to the naked eye, yet packed with the potential to impact almost every aspect of our lives. It is data. And it's the unseen force behind the next great wave of the technology revolution, driving innovation in cloud computing, autonomous driving, artificial intelligence, virtual and augmented reality, 5G, and more. And as the development of world-changing innovations continue to accelerate the pace of change at work, home, and everywhere in between, it may not always be clear where the future of technology is going, but it is clear where that future begins.
All right. So that's a fantastic start off point. So maybe... So we will be taking questions, so please make notes, and we'll take questions as we go along. But maybe what I'd like to start, so Denis was here 2 years ago.
Yeah,
and
2
then
years ago.
Last year you were traveling. Oh, there we get some noise in the background. So 2 years ago we talked a lot about your cloud strategy.
Yes.
So now 2 years have passed. So I thought we could start by talking a little bit about IoT and edge computing.
Okay.
And get your point of view around edge computing. That's kind of a hot topic. We hear a lot about it now in the media. So give us your thoughts on how you see Intel playing in that space. And what do you think?
Okay, thank you. So thank you for being here. Really appreciate it for you guys to be here. So if we look at the edge computing, right? So how it's going to transform. So I think we need to go back a little bit to where Intel is moving its strategy, which is completely in line where edge computing is going. So basically, all of you used to know Intel as a PC company, right? A couple of years ago, we really start our transformation to be ready to be a data-centric company. I may go a little bit on details what I mean by that in a few minutes. But basically, if we look, is really what we're doing right now is building all the technology, all the product to build the fabric of the future, right? So, and when we look, what is 5G, Ethernet network, all the next generation of fabric we'll see on the internet. And what we see is a lot of the data will be video data, right? So, and the amount of data that will be present on the network, because machine to machine, all the device, autonomous vehicle, a factory, a hospital, whatever it is, right? So will be billions of devices that will be connecting. And we know, even with the next generation of network, we'll need to have more intelligence in the network, that the computing will need to happen not just in the data center, but also at the edge, right? So that's where we're going. So basically, we're putting all the intelligence inside, from the edge network to the core network to the data center, that based on where is the best decision that need to happen. Is it at the edge? Is it in the network? Is it in the data center? So that's really where we're doing with the edge network. And a good example of that, if you look, if you are today watching something on Netflix, right? So a lot of the encoding, decoding is done in the data center, right? So somewhere on Netflix or somewhere in the country where you are, if they have a partnership there. So with the next generation of network, so with artificial intelligence and all those new technology, so basically the network will know, hey, you have been watching 3 episodes of that series, so why not moving all that data very close to you at the edge, right? So whether it's like to a tower where you are, a small data center, or almost in your gateway at home if you want, right? So that next time you have a better experience, you don't clog the network, so the network is more efficient. Same thing, whether it's a car, a hospital, like I mentioned. So a lot of the intelligence in the network will know where's the best place to process and to run your data. So that's really where we're going, right, with the edge computing.
So give us from your point of view, you travel the world, been with Intel for a long time now. Give us a timeline as you see this rolling out
Okay.
over the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, a few years ago, we started with the cloud computing, right? So where we virtualize I would say, the compute really in the data center. Right now, where we're working with the industry is really to more on the software-defined network piece, software-defined storage, where we completely virtualize the full stack that we find in any organizations. And a lot of work needs to happen with the communication service provider, with the telco, where with the 5G and also with mobile edge computing, all that stuff, they really make their network more agile. So they really have to transform from what they used to have, like a fixed function, basically a box dedicated to do just one fixed function, whether it's load balancing or again encoding or decoding a video or doing some traffic shaping and stuff like that. With what they have to do with 4G or the network we use, so they have those fixed function box, and those box just do one thing, right? When they want to add more capacity, whatever reason, you have a bunch of guys. There's a bunch of people from Toronto here, I guess. So you're watching a Leafs game or Abs or the Sens game, right? So on your cell phone. So now if there's a lot of people watching that game, so in an area where there's a cell tower, they need to put more capacity in that tower to provide that streaming to your device. So they put more bucks, very expensive, and it's a fixed function. When nobody's watching the game, those bucks do nothing. They're not used, right? So by virtualizing those network functions, now they can put standard x86 servers, Intel server, right? Whatever the brand. So everything is running from virtualized from a software. They spin that up, and now they can do more encoding based on what they need. But when it's done, so they can do something else with that box. For the services, way faster, because in the truck, when there's a problem, they just carry one box. It's just a standard x86 servers, and it can do any function. It can do load balancing, traffic shaping. So that's what we're doing right now. So as we roll out 5G in the world and stuff like that, yes, US, China is leading, Europe, we're typically kind of a fast follower, not really like an early adopter. As that technology roll out and more intelligence is built in the network, slowly we'll start to see more edge computing coming. So that's mean probably from 3 years to 6, 7 years we'll start. We already see it a little bit. So if you look with AI right now, there's some company that do surveillance camera. Instead of using just like a zone detection, something pass in that zone, pop up something, you send an alarm on the network and say, hey, there's something in the zone. So look on your camera. So with AI now, AI at the edge, right? Analytic at the edge. So basically they can do some intelligence, say, hey, something pop up in the zone. Is this a dog, a person with a red shirt? Is it a car? Oh, I'm just supposed just to let you know if it's someone with a red shirt. Bang, that's it. Anything else? It's done in the camera. I won't let you know. It's not clogging the network. It's not. So there's AI doing at the edge, right? So we already see those kind of solutions being rolled out right now. So some of it is already happening. Right. But if you look from a big worldwide point of view, it's in the next few years we'll start to see that.
So no autonomous cars for another 7 years.
There's still work to do on the cars and stuff like that. Yeah. So, but the car itself don't take much of the data per se, but it's more all the connection between all the cars that need to happen, also all the other service. Because what people think about the autonomous vehicle, right, is say, oh, would be so nice for the car. But believe me, the car company, they're not concerned about how the car will be driving by itself. That's a done deal is going to happen. It's where they're going to do value, right? Where the money that car will generate, how they're going to do money, monetize that. What I mean by that, think about it. When you will have a bunch of cars, let's say in 5, 6 years, you start to see cars with more automation than we have. You still have the steering wheel, but you can let it go like with some cars today, but more, right? So those cars will be a data center on the wheel with, I won't say millions of sensors, but tons of sensors, right? LiDAR, radar, cameras, with AI built on everything. They'll see everything. Just think if you have on one street with a lot of traffic, 10,000 cars going to that street, and the cars see everything. Every dog, cats, people, hear everything, see everything. It can be anonymized, we don't care, right? But that car will be able to predict pretty much everything because it will know. So what you do with that data, right? So that's what they're thinking right now. It's not, hey, can people will be watching Netflix when the car or the radio? It's that data. They see all the pothole, okay? What kind of business model I can do with that data as a GM or a Ford? Can I sell that data to that city? Because I know every freaking pothole in the street. I know everything that's happening, right? Is there a gunshot or everything? So this is all the business model that people are trying to figure out right now. So with those, and this is just for the car, right? It will be for any IoT or anything connected like that.
So talk to us from Intel's point of view then, in terms of how's Intel going to make money in that world?
Yeah,
just selling more chips, or is there other ways that
Okay.
Intel's...
So like I said a few minutes ago, right? Intel, we moved a couple of years ago to be a PC-centric company where good position in the market, but or TAM, or total available market, was kind of limited, right? So, and a couple of years ago, we shift our strategies. Hey, we're a data-centric company that open our TAM instead of fighting with our direct competitor. Now we expand the pie, right? So now we're almost at 300 billion pie when you look at every market we can play, right? So, and for us moving to a data-centric company, that means now we can have different, I would say, because everything is about the data, right? So, and for us, it's like, okay, that data, those billions of devices that will be connected in a couple of years, the data need to be processed, need to be moved, need to be stored, need to be analyzed. And that's our end-to-end strategy, right? We'll create technology products that will generate data, PC, a car, hospital, a robot, drones, I don't care, right? Will technology to move all that data on a more agile and flexible network, everything virtualized, but also need to be stored, processed, and analyzed with AI and all that stuff. So it's our end-to-end. So we play in all those markets. And we have big bets, right, around AI, 5Gs, VR, and all those stuff.
Interesting. So if it's all about data, then Kevin tomorrow is going to talk a lot about security.
Yep.
So talk to us. If it's all about the data, what's the implications for Intel's strategy? What do you do in terms of securing the data?
So security is key, right? So it's really our, I would say, almost like our number one priorities, because we know for any organization. So the way we look at it is, for sure, it's from the full cycle when we develop a product, from when we do R&D and we start to do productions, pilots, and everything, right? So it's end-to-end. So, but we know when you look at security now, so our approach always, okay, what you do kind of to protect yourself, whether it's when we build a new microprocessor or a new accelerator or any piece of silicon or technology we do, but also what can you do to detect if something happened, but when something happened, because you know at one point it may happen something. It's not like, hey, 100% secure, nothing's gonna happen. It's when something happened, what can you do and what's planned that you can recover from whatever it is, right? So, and as we evolve in our security, so we're practicing something called a coordinate disclosure. So basically, when we have academics or people who find something in a product or a technology, so we'll work the full industries with the different stakeholders to making sure before going public with, hey, there's something that all the key people are aware, and when that information go out, there's a patch that there's something available that people can fix it, right? Because as we move, whether it's critical infrastructure or production level or for an organization, and we move to that digital world, so it's so critical, so that we need to be very transparent and know what we're doing, right?
So we have a microphone. Phil has the microphone. Do we have any questions for Denis? Anybody? All right. Oh, down here we got a question. No, he's trying to put his suit on. There we go.
Hi, my name is Jan Fick. I'm from Bentel Kennedy. What are your thoughts on the 5G, and when do you think 5G will be implemented in Canada?
Okay, that's a very good question. So first, we really think that 5G, we see 5G as important for the industry, or I would say even for the world, as when we move from analog to digital. We see it's a game changer technology that's going to transform a lot of things. And as far as in Canada, we're engaged pretty much with every major carrier in the country. So when I say we're engaged, so we work with the carrier who work with their suppliers, whoever they are that supply them equipment, but all those equipments are based on Intel technology and stuff like that to enable them to those different software-defined network, software-defined virtualization for functions and stuff like that. So I think as the standard evolve next year and start to have the first rev of the ratification of the standard, so I think we won't be the first one, but we're very close to the first country who will have 5G and stuff. We should start to see some implementation, I would say, probably like around 2020 in the country.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tony might have some other thoughts on that, but I think the Quebec, Montreal, Toronto corridor will be
like
the
window,
first to go in terms of.
And keep in mind, right, with 5G, it's not just like with your headset, right? There's a suite of technology that will go from technology for your headset, but also for things that need very low latency, more near real time, like we're talking about cars and stuff like that, or a hospital and stuff like that, through stuff that need in IoT space, very low power that can be connected on the network for years, running on battery or solar power and stuff like that. So it's why we say it will change everything, because it's not just a faster and lower latency, it's more than that. So there's a suite of technology for pretty much everything from what you use, for your phone, in a car, in a factory, in sensors and stuff like that. So it will change a lot of things.
Yeah,
so.
it's pretty exciting. I think there was another question.
My name is Russell Sutherland. I'm from the University of Toronto. Could you reflect from Intel's experience with the recent February meltdown and Spectre issues? Just try to reflect how Intel dealt with that, how it dealt with different security developers with different OSs, things that you did well, things that you should do better next time.
Yeah.
Just, as I say, reflecting things that went well in terms of your communication, in terms of getting feedback from developers, and that just from the engineering developing side, I think it was a massive issue. Yeah. So if you could just sort of talk about that, the highs and the lows. Thanks.
Yeah. So basically, earlier this year, there was a couple of issues that were fine, I would say, security issue at the architecture level from any x86, I would say, architectures, and how that was handled, right, basically. So we learned a lot from that. So because as you look at the security challenge, used to be very at the, I would say, application level, it moved to the OS levels, after that moves at the virtualization level, and now it's down at the hardware level, down the stack at the hardware level, right? So I think what we have learned with that, like I said, so if you look at our security pledge that we put on our website, say we need to do a better job working with the full industry. So not just when I say our ecosystem, like all the big OEMs, the Dell, the HP, and all those guys, I would say, or the Google and the cloud service provider, but also with our competitors that use the same instruction set and all that stuff. So it's why I say now we're come up with that coordinate disclosure that we say, okay, and we're funding more, I would say, academic research on what they found and stuff like that. When there's a piece of paper, some academic somewhere say, hey, you know what? In that position, when the data is in flight between memory and the CPU at that cycle, maybe there's an issue there that can happen. So when we got that information, that we can go see with all our industry and ecosystem. But like I said, so figure out before going public with that, so that we find out, okay, here's the fix for that issue, and that we can go public, because there's always, we are afraid that when we go public and there's no fix, like a bad actor, whether it's someone or a state, so that may take advantage of that, so that when we go public. So we're really, I think, learn from that, not just Intel, but the industry, to do a better job on that. So that's, I think, and we have put a lot of resource on that. So And I apologize if that caused a lot of you a challenge, because I know it was a lot of work to go through all the system and everything, since it's pretty down at the hardware level, right? So.
Do we have other questions over here?
Hi, Andrew Jackson from Griffin Secure on security. Interested to know your thoughts, your experience and observations. Working with a security company, we know there's a great need. But to put your finger on why that is it because of a prevalence of lack of knowledge or ignorance? Is it a prevalence of complacency? Is it a problem with complexities of integration and keeping things secure? Or is it simply technology moving too fast? I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on addressing that kind of the problem.
Okay, thank you. So I feel, I mean, security as a field you're in a good business, I would say, because the concern, like we have seen it on the slide, right, with Tony and stuff like that. But it's the complexity of it is increasing, right? Because if you just think how your organization are designed, your data centers and the applications without virtualization before was so easy, right? So what you have to do now, you add all that layer of virtualizations and the complexity. It's you. Sometimes you even you wonder where the workload is really running. Is it on the wire somewhere now, or because I'm moving virtual machine and back and forth and stuff like that? So the level of complexity of the architecture of everything is way higher than before, I think. So that adds to the challenge on security, but also the sophistication of all the technology we're using is way higher than before. But also, if you look at the industry, there's a lot of, I would say, what's the word in English? Sorry. There's a lot of different players, right? So, and that make, if you're working in security and you need to work with that SIEMs, you have a suite of tools that you have to use, which add on top of the security, right? So, and we know also that on the other side, so the people who take advantage of the technology, so they're getting better, they have more resources than before, so, and they have, I would say, more time than when you have in your organization where you're running the business and stuff like that. So it's a constant challenge, and we see also that like I said at the beginning, right, the attack are going down the stack. So not just staying at the higher level, but going down at the hardware level. So yeah, so it's a tough place to be, but it's, like I said, I think now most organizations got it. The fact that not they need to invest more in security to increase their security posture, but really to know, you know what, something's going to happen. When something happens, whatever it is in your plan, how we react and what we do. Is there stuff that we need to disclose publicly, where we're legally exposed, and if that happens, how we do it, right? It's not like, hey, you know what, we're fully secure, nothing's going to happen, no worry, all is good. We know that's not the case, right?
No, and that's a great question, and Kevin will talking more about that tomorrow, around security as well. So, so from your point of view, you've been in the industry a long, long time, been with Intel for a long time now. What do you view as, so if 5G is a game changer?
Yep.
So what do you think, from an end user point of view, you're a CIO managing a large Canadian business, let's say, IT. What do you think is the most exciting thing from the CIO's point of view? Or maybe the most challenging thing.
Yeah, okay.
But talk a little bit, if you were a CIO today, what would you be most excited about?
Okay, so I think both are the same thing. So I think it's all about the digital transformation, which is, for a CIO, it's very exciting because what we see right now is probably the least amount of change that we'll see in years to come, right? It's
the least amount?
Yes, like what you think it's happening right now, it's nothing in the years to come. Because if you look at new materials that's going to come, all the biotechnology that's going to start to merge with the physical world, you have no clue of the stuff that's coming. It's amazing, okay? Because we're building on the shoulder of every new innovation, right? Just think about the sequencing the genome from billions of dollars. People can do it in their garage. Now there's kit on the internet you can order, and you can sequence a genome in your garage for with open source software. So anyway, so there's a lot of stuff that's coming. So as a CIO, that means your role inside organization, again, there's all the C-suite stuff that you need to understand what's going on and stuff like that, but the role we can have inside an organization, when I say your role as a CIO, our role as an industry, so is way more important than just be the provider of IT service in the organizations. So we should be, like Tony was mentioning, like showing where we should be, or like when you're driving the digital transformation. So it's very exciting if you're a CIO or an IT that you can show leadership and really show how you can transform the organization. So it's a very exciting time. But at the same time, it's a big challenge because where, when, which technology you should go and you should look and stuff like that. So because you know someone will come from the left field, with a new platform or something that you have not seen, and it will completely change your business model or do something way more efficient than you were doing, right? So it's very challenging at the same time. So I think it's an awesome opportunity for as a CIO with that digital transformation, but at the same time, it's a big challenge and a big threat, right? So that you need to manage, because there's things like blockchain that, boy, that thing's going to change a lot of things in the years to come. Like huge industry will be completely disrupted by that.
So there's been a lot of talk about blockchain.
Yeah.
And within Canada, it's probably more talk, quite a few pilots. And I know we have a couple of blockchain executives here who are, run blockchain businesses. But talk about, from your point of view then, where do you see the big disruption because of blockchain happening?
So for sure, it will take time because there's a lot of pushback from the old players, or whether you're in the financial sector or in the insurance industry. I would say every industry where you're kind of the middleman, or your role is kind of to do validated transaction and stuff like that. So, and there's a lot of regulations and stuff like that involved, right? So, but the market will be disrupted for sure. So, and it's very hard to me to know where, because we see it every week in the news, right? We see emerging country jumping on blockchain, stuff like that. When I was leading the government vertical, so we see country, so that we're using like like typically for an emerging country, one of the most corrupted place where people see a lot of challenge is with the registry for land. So, and building, right? It's very easy because you bribe someone and change the name in the system and you say that piece of land belongs to me now. And like, no, that was like, I have the paper. No, in the system is not. So in a lot of countries are now using blockchain for that. So make it very robust, right? So and stuff like that. So I think it's probably the emerging market or country will be ahead of us as a mature country, because we have mature industries and we have all those systems in place that take care of what blockchain can do, and we'll push back. But again, from the left field, we'll see some startup or that will come with something. People say, oh my God, that's so efficient. Remove all the friction in the transactions, remove all the fees and stuff like that. And they won't have the choice, right? They will have to say, you know what? So it's why if you're a big organization, you need to look at it, understand it, what it is, and say, hey, if we were starting from scratch, we would be using that model instead. Right. You need to ask yourself that question in your organizations.
Got questions here, lady in the back? All right, we'll start on the right and work our way to the left.
Hi, my name is Zaina Garzouzi. I'm from the company Sodi. My question to you is, we all know we have to look ahead. I wanted to know your insights at Intel, but not just at Intel, in other companies that you're seeing. I've noticed that a lot of companies are telling us, listen, we can't do a 5-year or 10-year plan. Too many things are changing. Some companies have told me we don't even have anything beyond a 2-year plan of what we're going to do. How far ahead does Intel look with all the changes? And we know it's exciting and there's a lot of stuff coming. How far ahead do you look at, and then you say, okay, I don't want to say you need to stop, but you say, listen, we're going too far now. We can't look ahead like 7 years coming down. We can kind of put a little bit on the map, but not plan that way, that far, just to be able to be reactive to the market and the competition. And what are your insights for maybe other companies on how far ahead they should look? And maybe there is at one point where it can hinder you if you go too forward. I hope it's not too confusing, my question. Thanks.
It's a good question. So I'll say basically, if you're a company, right? Before being with Intel, I had my own business 5 years, like very small, right? So I sold it with like 25 people when I sold it. So I've seen, I work for a medium, small, very small, large organization. So the way we do it at Intel, right? So we really look, or I would say we have a yearly planning and stuff like that. So after that, we have like, I would say a midterm planning, which will go from 1 year to probably 3 years, kind of a horizon and stuff like that. And after 3 years to almost like 10 years and 10 years down the road, like we have futurists and all the people, but it's very hard to predict what's going to be the future because things go move. And as I don't know if you have read some books on Intel, but Intel is like, which is from one of our old CEO, right? So it's like it's the paranoia that drives Intel. It's always some disruption technology that will come up and will change everything, right? A new material that say we're more efficient than silicon and change everything. So whatever it is, right? So we're really on the lookup on everything, but I don't think it's for an organization. It's not really as I would say CIO or an IT department inside an organization, the technology that the implementation that you do and you use in your data center, that's one thing, right? That's, hey, are we using the next generation where we're moving to the cloud? It's going to be a fully flash array or whatever it is that the new things that coming. That's one thing to be more efficient, stuff like that. That's one thing that you can plan. I would say it's not easy, but the market or the industry can help you to see what's the new things that coming that will make you more efficient. You'll be able to do not that much transaction. To me, I think where it's very important is like, look, what is your business model and so how you do money in your organization, right? So what your business model, and if you were starting from a digital point of view, so what will change or what you will be doing, knowing what you know today or maybe what's coming, and that may be changing everything. Because just think, let's say you're a small company who built something, so I don't know, a heat exchanger, whatever it is, right? And that's what all your competitors are doing something, and someone come up with like kids, they have it built somewhere. They don't even build it. They have it built somewhere, but they put a bunch of IoT sensors on it. So and they say, okay, that's cool. They have their phone and they can see the temperature in the house and stuff like that. That's one thing. Oh, we can do that too. But this kid, they say, you know what? We don't, I won't say a bad word. We don't care about that. So what we care about is the data that thing is bringing up. We're going to sell it to an insurance company or whoever may use that data. Their business model is using the data the device is providing and do money with that. They can almost give away the heat exchanger. They don't care. You're trying to find and fight against them, the heat exchanger, but they don't care about the exchanger. It's just the data that is getting from it, their business model. So that's one thing. Like when we say data-centric for companies, like what kind of business model you can do with the data that your organization maybe is generating or maybe can generate if you put IoT sensors, whatever it is, new service using digital. So, and is there a business model you can do out of that, or someone else can use that data, and for him, it's gold because that data provide him some information, whatever it is, right? So you have to think about that. It's basically say, okay, if we're starting from scratch, because the technology itself is very hard to know, like on a long horizon, right?
I think that's a great point. If particularly if you're a product company, you know, what could a services model look like? So if an insurance company now give away free heat exchangers in return for the data, well, your direct model of selling heat exchangers completely upset. So that's a great way to think about it. I think we had another question here in the middle.
Last question. Dennis, thank you. Peter Thompson, Knowledge First Financial, Toronto. You talked about 5G. I'm here to learn about budgets. What do you expect us to expect? 10%, 20%? If we want to get into that as an average company, what are we looking at in the next couple of years?
Okay, you mean as far as the cost of 5G or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I have no idea. So the only thing I can do.
An idea.
So don't worry. Maybe there's some guys from the communication world. So and it will be a multi-G world, right? So we'll like 3G will still be there, 4G, 5G. So it's not everything will be 5G, right? 4G will be here like for years to come. So I think will be different tier of pricing and stuff like that. So I don't know what will be the value add like to 5G and what will be the price point from that. So, but I believe will be what we have seen from other carriers and stuff like that is around the world is like based on if it's a machine to machine that connects sensors and stuff like that versus like what you have on your smartphone. So I think will vary, right? Based on what you need and what kind of technology in 5G spectrum you're using. So.
All right, now, so I've been given the hook, but we have one question, because this lady didn't get to ask her question earlier either. So we're going to take that question, and then I have one final question for you, and then we're going to wrap it up and move, have a quick
He has the
break, and then we're going to do our
microphone, he has
CIO
all the
panel.
Right. Well, thank you very much. I'm Tracy Dallaire. I'm with Mohawk College. I lead digital transformation for all academic and applied research across faculties. I have sort of two related questions. Is be interested for your insights, given your vast experience and that of Intel's, about the skills of the Canadian workforce today, but the future workforce that's coming out of our schools, and their ability to operate in this new environment right now today, but also in the coming years or coming months. Also, how colleges and universities can better work with industry, and how we're going to be able to work with industry to be able to not only close the skills gap, but help drive research. We do applied research versus universities, and I appreciate any comments and thoughts you might have on that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So, as you know, one comment I like to say typically about education, like back in the days, not that far back, years ago, would say. Sorry, my English is very bad. So years ago people used to go work where there was jobs, and jobs where there was resource, whether it was money or natural resource and stuff like that. Now people go where to work where it's a good place to live, and company goes where there's good talent and good people, right? So I can tell you, as Intel and driving like Intel Canada, my number one, like if I want to grow Intel in the country, we're like more than 1,000 people, is to convince Intel that there's specific talent and we have enough for, like we just announced a few weeks ago, a lab in graphic in Toronto, like R&D. And because there's a lot of talent around graphics in Toronto and like higher ed education and stuff like that. So so basically education is key moving forward for any countries if you really want to be competitive around the world, right? So, and the education that is like, we all heard about STEM and stuff like that, right? So, and I think the basic, I would say, closing that digital divide where people don't have the basic skills, that's for sure, that's key, right? But it's really more than, I think, the IT or its science skill is really to have people an ability or flexibility to learn very quickly. So because moving forward, probably in your life, you will change jobs a lot. So, and you'll have to have the capacity or the ability to be able to change and learn something. So that's something I think we have to put more in the school system, that people knows how to learn quickly, and they understand that they will have to learn for almost ever, right? So whatever the skills that they have, because even if you do something manual, you will have to operate probably complex machine and interact with some AI and stuff like that, and you will have to relearn many things probably a couple of times in your career, right? So I think that's on top of, for sure, everybody says, I want more advanced PhD and stuff like, we all want like tons of PhD for all the skills, but on top of that, so it's I think the flexibility to learn a lot that need to be increased. And as far as working more with the industry, whether it's Intel or any big organization in the country, so as you know, all organizations are very, I would say public organizations at least, are very driven on driving the business, right? So if you can find ways to build skills that those companies will need moving forward and programs, that will be easier for you to work and collaborate with those organizations. Okay?
That's fantastic. So we're going to move on, but before we do that, in terms of learning new skills, so what about quantum computing? So from Intel's point of view, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, so for us, quantum computing, so like there's a bunch of, without sharing a lot of details, there's a bunch of stuff publicly. You can Google and look for Intel and quantum computing. So we have a couple of stuff going on, so that we made public announcement on how many qubits we have and computer running and stuff like that. So we all know it's not tomorrow that you'll have a laptop running quantum computing and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's there, it's coming. So it's gonna be part of the the portfolio of technology that you'll see and how it's going to change the market and how stable the technology will be and stuff like that, right? We'll see. But it's part of the horizon moving forward of the new technology that we'll see. But probably will be more in the, I would say, in the back end, on the big labs and the research facility and stuff like that because of the power. But it's because you need all new set of tools and it's a big paradigm shift, right? So, but as for seeing, say, no more x86 Intel, I'm going to have a quantum computing chip with qubits on my phone or PC. Forget it, we'll all be dead when that's going to happen. So,
All right, so there's the timeline for you.
but it's going to happen, right? But more the big things first. So,
All right. So we're going to call it there, and we're going to do a little switcheroo here on the stage and then move directly into our CIO panel. But I think that gives everybody about 5 minutes if you want to go outside for grab a coffee. So thank you so much, Denis.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.